Lesson 35.
Nosotros somos.
Okay, here in Lesson 35, we're learning yet another pronoun and yet another verb. Nosotros means we, and somos means are. So together, nosotros and somos mean we are. And these different verbs that express being or existing, these are called linking verbs, or sometimes you hear them referred to as verbs of being. So these are verbs that say things like am, is, are, things like that, verbs of being or existing.
In Spanish, these verbs of being or existing are determined by the pronoun. So that's very important that we are very aware of that.
Right. In other words, we can't mix and match. We can't put somos with another pronoun. It always has to be nosotros somos. We cannot take eres and put it with nosotros and say nosotros eres. That doesn't make any sense in Spanish. So we have to keep the proper pronoun with the proper verb always. One last thing to mention before we jump into the exercises, that there's also a feminine form of nosotros. Nosotros ends in os, and that's basically a masculine plural ending. So that means we, if you're talking about a group of males only. If you had a group of females and one of them said we, they would say nosotras. And that would be a feminine plural ending, the ending that's as. And if you had a group of males and females, that is mixed gender, of course you'd have to use the masculine plural form, which is nosotros.
And also, Bill, previous pronouns that we've learned, like yo or tú, they do not have gender. Let's just remember about that. So only we for now has different genders when translating them to Spanish.
But for other pronouns, there's only one form. Like, for instance, yo. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. You still just say yo. And if you're speaking to someone, you always say tú. There's no feminine and masculine form of tú. It's just always tú. But with él and ella, there's él is masculine and ella is feminine. So some pronouns have a masculine and a feminine form, and others don't. Okay, let's take a look at these exercises here. In number 1, nosotros somos means we are, and amigos means friends. So number 1 says we are friends, and of course nosotros is masculine and amigos is masculine. So this could possibly be referring to a group of male friends, or it could be referring to a group of friends that includes both males and females. In number 2, we have nosotras somos, that means we are. However, the nosotras form ending in as indicates that it's talking about a group of females. And then tus hermanas means your sisters. So number 2 says we are your sisters. In number 3, we have the word nosotros, which means we, and then we have the verb somos, but it's being negated by the word no. So nosotros no somos means we are not. Then we have the word niños, which technically means boys, but often Spanish speakers use this simply to mean children. So number 3 is going to say we are not children, and since niños is masculine, it could be referring to a group of just male boys, or it could be referring to a group of boys and girls, both males and females. In number 4, buenos dias means good morning, and mis hijos means my children. So number 4 says, good morning, my children. Since hijos is masculine and plural, it could be referring to just males, or also a group that includes both males and females. It just depends on the situation and the context of the conversation. And the word hijos here, as I just said a minute ago, it's children, and it's not going to necessarily mean people under the age of 12. Here with the word hijos, it means more like offspring, like your own children. So we don't really know what age the children are. They could be grown, they could be small. but here it just means offspring, as in sons and daughters. In number 5, adios means goodbye, and Senora Smith means Mrs. Smith. The word senora is the word that you would use to address a married woman or perhaps an older woman. In this particular situation, we do not need to use the article la because we are speaking directly to the person and we're using the title senora as the name by which we address that person. So we're calling out to the woman saying senora, using that as her name. So in this situation, you do not need to use the article la. If you were not using the word senora as a name by which to call out to that person, in other words, if you were just talking about Senora Smith, then in a situation like that, you would need to use the definite article la, and you would say la Senora Smith. But in this situation, you do not need the article. So number 5 says, goodbye, Mrs. Smith. In number 6, yo soy means I am. Tu means your, and mama means mom. So I am your mom. In number 7, tu eres means you are, and that's singular, referring to just one person. And mi madre means my mother. So number 7 says, you are my mother. In number 8, we have the pronoun él, which means he, and that's working with the verb es. So ls means he is, and mi amigo means my friend. Of course, it's referring to a friend of the male gender. So number 8 says, he is my friend. In number 9, we have the pronoun ella, which means she, and that's working with the verb es. So ella es means she is. Then we have the indefinite article una, which means a or an, and muchacha means young woman. So number 9 will say, she is a young woman. In number 10, yo soy means I am. Tu is your, and amiga is a friend of the female gender. So number 10 says, I am your friend.